The Galactic Concord had laughed when humans first joined their ranks. Admiral Kyra Voss stood on the bridge of the EFS Harbinger, watching the massive alien fleet approaching Earth's orbital defense grid. Her weathered face reflected in the viewport, gray eyes hard as steel. Humanity's warning had been clear: back down or face the consequences. The Praetorate Empire had chosen poorly. "They've crossed the Karen line, Admiral," Lieutenant Elian Rykov announced, his fingers dancing, across the holographic controls. "All civilian ships have been evacuated from the defense perimeter." A grim smile touched Voss's lips. For 173 years, humanity had played by the Concord's rules. They'd suppressed their military innovations, throttled their expansion, and maintained a facade of technological compliance, all to avoid frightening their new galactic neighbors. But the Praetorate had mistaken restraint for weakness. "Open a channel to the Praetorate flagship," Voss ordered. "Last chance for diplomacy." The alien commander, Grand Marshal Ukath, appeared. On screen, his chitinous face arranged in what passed for amusement among his species. 8 glittering eyes regarded Voss with disdain. "Admiral Voss," Ukath's translator conveyed, "your resistance is noted but unnecessary. The Concord has sanctioned this action. Your interference in Praetorate expansion has been deemed unacceptable. Surrender your planetary defenses, and we will limit occupation casualties to acceptable parameters." Voss didn't blink. "Grand Marshal, I don't think you understand. The message we transmitted wasn't a plea, it was a courtesy. We've spent nearly 2 centuries hiding what we can do. Your government has mistaken our diplomacy for fear." Ukath's mandibles clicked in what the translation software identified as laughter. "Brave words from a species outnumbered 30-1. Numbers stopped mattering in warfare several millennia ago, Marshal." Voss nodded to her communications officer. "We tried to warn you." The transmission cut. Voss turned to her executive officer, Commander Dio Okafor, whose dark eyes held the same resolute determination as hers. "Deploy the Lazarus Protocol," she ordered quietly. Okafor hesitated only a fraction of a second. "Lazarus Protocol confirmed, Admiral. The President has authenticated the release codes. Throughout the Sol system, black sites that had officially never existed began powering up. Quantum entanglement signals activated dormant systems buried in asteroid bases, Jovian moon facilities, and Martian underground complexes. For nearly 2 centuries, Earth's true military capabilities had been compartmentalized, hidden from Concord, inspectors, and alien diplomats. On the Praetorate ships, sensors began detecting anomalies, energy signatures unlike anything in their databases. Quantum fluctuations that shouldn't exist according to the technology humans had publicly displayed. "They're launching their attack run," Rykov reported. 1,500 ships on primary vector. Voss straightened her uniform. "Activate the Osiris grid." Across Earth's orbit, seemingly decorative satellites suddenly realigned, forming an intricate pattern. The first wave of Praetorate fighters hit what appeared to be empty space and disintegrated. Not explosions, simply unmade. Converted to their base particles by fields that selectively dissolved specific molecular bonds. Ukath's voice crackled through the comms, panic evident even through the translator. "What is this?" "Your defense. Capabilities were assessed and cataloged." "No," Voss replied calmly. "What you cataloged was what we showed you. Humanity has been at war with itself for thousands of years before we met you. Did you really think we'd reveal everything we knew?" As the rest of the Praetorate fleet faltered in confusion, Voss gave the order that would change humanity's place in the galaxy forever. "Execute Revelation Protocol. All ships, weapons free." From the far reaches of the Kuiper Belt, the real human fleet emerged from hidden docks, not the ceremonial defense ships that patrolled Sol under Concord observation, but the true might of humanity. Vessels that had been built in secret, tested in pocket dimensions, and kept hidden from prying eyes. The EFS Nemesis led the charge, a 6-kilometer behemoth that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Captain Mira Indrani watched the tactical display as her ship's systems fully activated for the first time outside simulation. Gravitational lensing operational, her weapons officer, Lieutenant Commander Orion Webb, announced. Chronometric engines at full capacity. Dimensional anchors stable. Indrani nodded, her augmented eyes processing information faster than any natural human possibly could. Like most officers in the Shadow Fleet, her enhancements remained deactivated during diplomatic functions, another deception in humanity's long game. Target the Preterite command ships, she ordered. Precision strikes only. We're making a point, not committing genocide. The Nemesis moved with impossible speed, appearing to bend space around itself. To Preterite sensors, it seemed to teleport between positions, a technology supposedly centuries beyond human capability, according to their shared research. Across the battlefield, 12 more capital ships decloaked, each deploying tactics that violated what the Concord believed were universal physical limitations. Tachyon missiles phased through Preterite shields. Quantum-locked beams froze enemy vessels in temporal stasis. Nanite swarms dismantled weapon systems without harming crew. On the Preterite flagship, Grand Marshal Ukath watched in horror as his mighty armada was systematically disabled by forces he couldn't comprehend. Impossible, he chittered to his sub-commanders. Their treaty compliance has been verified for decades. They cannot possess this technology. His strategic officer, a veteran of 3 galactic campaigns, stared at the sensor readings in disbelief. Marshal, they're not using conventional weaponry. These energy signatures suggest dimensional manipulation on a scale that contradicts known physics. In the chaos, a small stealth craft docked with Ukath's flagship. 6 figures in matte black. Combat suits materialized inside the command center. Their leader removed her helmet, revealing the stern face of Commander Isolde Kearney, Earth's Special Diplomatic Force. Grand Marshal Ukath, she announced, her voice amplified to cut through. The panic. Your fleet has been neutralized. Your soldiers are unharmed but contained. I'm here to negotiate terms of your immediate withdrawal. Ukath's guards raised weapons only to find them inoperable. The human intruder stood motionless, seemingly unconcerned. This is violation of all Concord protocols, Ukath raged. Your species signed treaties limiting military development. Commander Kearney's smile lacked warmth. No, Marshal. We signed treaties agreeing not to deploy certain technologies. We never agreed to stop developing them. She activated a holographic display showing the status of the Preterite fleet. Ships frozen in space, weapons systems disabled, crews confused but alive. We could have destroyed your entire fleet in seconds, she continued. Instead, we disabled it with minimal casualties. This restraint isn't weakness, Marshal. It's civilization. Back on the Harbinger, Admiral Voss received confirmation of Commander Kearney's successful infiltration. Simultaneously, diplomatic channels across the galaxy erupted as Concord observers reported the impossible events unfolding in the Sol system. Package has been delivered, Commander Okafor reported quietly. Concord representatives are demanding emergency communication. Voss nodded. Put them through. It's time for some long-overdue honesty. The face that appeared belonged to High, Arbitrator Zelfarin of the Galactic Concord, his typically composed demeanor replaced by undisguised alarm. Admiral Voss, his translator conveyed, explain these actions immediately. The technologies being deployed violate every agreement your species has signed. With respect, Arbitrator, Voss replied calmly, we are defending ourselves against sanctioned aggression. As for the technologies, we never lied about their existence. You simply never asked the right questions. The emergency session of the Galactic Concord Council convened within 12 hours of the Sol incident. The great amphitheater on Harmony, station hummed with nervous energy as representatives from 57 spacefaring civilizations gathered to address what many were already calling the human revelation. Dr. Lysandra Vasilyev, Earth's chief diplomat, stood alone at the speaker's podium. Her slight frame belied the weight she carried, explaining humanity's deception to a galaxy suddenly terrified of their capabilities. Distinguished representatives, she began, her voice steady despite the hostile murmurs. Humanity extends its regrets for the necessity of yesterday's demonstration. For nearly 2 centuries, we have honored the spirit of cooperation while concealing our true capabilities, not out of malice but caution. The hegemony representative, a massive gelatinous entity named Vorex Prime, pulsed angry red. Caution. You've developed forbidden technologies while pretending technological inferiority. The Praetorate fleet was neutralized using methods that violate 17 different treaty provisions. Vasilyev nodded. And yet we disabled an invasion force without a single fatality. The Praetorate crews are unharmed despite their unprovoked aggression against our homeworld. From his elevated position, High Arbitrator Zelforin raised a spindly limb for silence. Dr. Vasilyev, evidence suggests humans have maintained secret military installations throughout your system and beyond. You've developed dimensional technologies, chronometric weapons, and consciousness transfer capabilities, all while claiming to struggle with basic interstellar travel. We never claimed struggling, Arbitrator. We simply allowed certain assumptions to persist. Vasilyev activated a holographic display showing Earth's history, millennia of warfare, innovation born from conflict, and the rapid technological acceleration that followed humanity's unification. When we discovered the Concord existed, our species had just emerged from centuries of internal strife. Our first contact specialists analyzed your historical records and noted a troubling pattern. Species that advanced too quickly were often subjected to protective oversight or technology restrictions. The chamber erupted in objections. The Zeleni ambassador, whose species had indeed been placed under such restrictions, vibrated with indignation. You deceived the entire galactic community based on paranoid speculation. Did we? Vasilyev countered. When the Praetorate requested permission to pacify our outposts in the Arcturus sector, the Concord approved their action within hours. Their fleet was dispatched to attack a founding member world based on fabricated evidence we can now prove was deliberately falsified. She projected diplomatic communications intercepted by Earth intelligence, conversations between Praetorate officials and certain Concord representatives discussing the human problem and the need to demonstrate consequences for their expansionism. Humanity concealed its capabilities because history, yours and ours, taught us that power differentials invite aggression. We played the role of the developing species while quietly preparing for the day when our restraint would be mistaken for weakness. In the stunned silence that followed, Admiral Voss and Commander Kearney entered the chamber, flanking a subdued Grand Marshal Ukath. The Praetorate commander's mandibles twitched nervously as he was guided to a witness podium. Grand Marshal, Vasilyev prompted gently, please share with the Council what you discovered about the human facilities you were sent to pacify in Arcturus. Ukath's translator conveyed his reluctant admission. The human outposts contained no military assets. They were scientific research stations studying stellar phenomena, staffed primarily by civilian scientists and their families. My orders were to destroy them and attribute the attack to pirate elements. The chamber descended into chaos as accusations flew between factions. High Arbitrator Zelforan struggled to maintain order, while representatives demanded explanations, assurances, or immediate sanctions against either humans or Praetorate forces, depending on their political alignments. Through the commotion, Dr. Vasilyev made eye contact with Admiral Voss, a silent understanding passing between them. Phase 1 of Operation Glasshouse was complete. The deception revealed, the true balance of power exposed. Now came the difficult part, rebuilding trust while establishing humanity's new position in galactic politics. As the session adjourned, for emergency consultations, Vasiliev was approached by Tholarian Ambassador Reinex Vau, one of the few Concord representatives who had consistently treated humans with respect. An impressive gambit, Doctor, the crystalline being communicated. But now you've shown your hand. The galaxy will never trust humanity again. Perhaps, Vasiliev acknowledged, but they will respect us. And sometimes, Ambassador, respect is more valuable than trust. 3 days after the emergency Concord session, the EFS Corsair slipped into orbit around Vega Prime, humanity's furthest colonial world. Captain Ezra Quintus stood on the observation deck, watching as evacuation ships loaded with civilian colonists prepared for emergency departure. How many still need transport? He asked his executive officer, Commander Nia Adeyemi. Approximately 20,000 remaining, sir, she replied, checking the manifest. The agricultural settlements in the southern hemisphere are proving difficult to evacuate. Many are refusing to leave their farms. Quintus frowned. The counterattack they'd anticipated was coming. Conquered intelligence sources confirmed that hardline factions were mobilizing. Vega Prime would likely be their first target, being furthest from Sol's now revealed defenses. Send Tactical Team Sigma to assist, he ordered. Make it clear this isn't optional. The Conquered Military Assembly is sending a peacekeeping force that will arrive within 48 hours. A flash of light announced the arrival of a small transport craft. It docked smoothly with the Corsair, delivering its sole passenger, Director Kaido Akagi, head of the Office of Strategic Initiatives. The architect of humanity's two-century deception. Quintus met him in the secure briefing room, noting the deep exhaustion etched into the older man's features. Director, he saluted. We didn't expect you in person. Akagi's smile was grim. Some messages can't be entrusted to quantum channels, Captain. Not anymore. He activated the room's security measures, fields that isolated them from any possible surveillance. The Revelation Protocol has entered its second phase. We're accelerating the timetable. He projected a galactic map showing troop movements. Red markers indicated Concord military assets converging from multiple sectors, while blue highlighted human positions, many in locations the Concord had never known about. Our facade is crumbling faster than anticipated, Akagi continued. 7. Concord factions have called for immediate military action against Earth. 3 more are proposing technology impoundment. Only the Tholarians and Meridian Collective are advocating for diplomatic resolution. Quintus studied the map, noting the patterns. They're targeting our supply lines, cutting off the colonies before moving against Earth. Precisely. Which is why we're implementing Protocol Sundown. The captain's eyes widened. Sir, Sundown wasn't scheduled for at least another decade. The infrastructure is more complete than most of the Directorate knows, Akagi interrupted. While you've been evacuating colonists through the front door, we've been moving them through the back. He expanded the map, revealing a network of locations connected by lines that pulsed with energy, locations that existed in dimensional space just adjacent to normal reality. Gateway points to humanity's greatest secret. They had been terraforming and colonizing worlds in parallel dimensional spaces, inaccessible to conventional travel. Pharaoh Station goes online tonight, Akagi said quietly. All evacuated colonists will be redirected there, then transitioned to the Haven worlds. Earth will appear to stand alone, exactly as the hardliners in the Conquered expect. Commander Adeyemi, who had been silently processing this revelation, finally spoke. The diplomatic team doesn't know about this, do they? Dr. Vasiliev is negotiating, without knowing we're preparing to potentially abandon conventional space. Akagi's expression hardened. Compartmentalization remains essential, Commander. If negotiations succeed, Haven remains our contingency. If they fail, he left the implication hanging. Quintus understood. For generations, humanity had pretended technological inferiority while secretly preparing multiple paths forward. The public-facing colonies were only part of the story. "What are our orders, Director?" he asked. "The Corsair will remain here as visible presence. Continue the evacuation theater. When the Concord peacekeepers arrive, you'll protest diplomatically, but ultimately withdraw under apparent duress." Akagi handed him a quantum key. "This will give you access to Gateway Epsilon when the time comes." As the briefing concluded, a lieutenant rushed in with urgent news. "Captain, we're detecting multiple dimensional signatures approaching the system. They don't match any known Concord configuration." The tactical display revealed 6 vessels of unfamiliar design, their energy signatures fluctuating in patterns that suggested advanced dimensional manipulation, technology supposedly monopolized by humanity in this part of the galaxy. Akagi's face drained of color. "Impossible. No other Concord species has achieved practical dimensional transit." "They're not Concord, sir," the lieutenant clarified. "Preliminary analysis suggests precursor. Origin," the word hung in the air. Precursors. The mythical first civilization that had allegedly seeded the galaxy with life before mysteriously vanishing 50,000 years ago. Most considered them mere legend, though ruins attributed to them had been discovered on dozens of worlds. The lead ship transmitted a message, not in any known language, but somehow perfectly understandable to every human who heard it. "Children of Earth, your awakening has been noted. The time of judgment approaches." The diplomatic reception, hall aboard Harmony Station, buzzed with tension. Representatives from 30 major Concord powers had gathered for what was being called the Human Accords, negotiations that would determine Earth's future relationship with galactic civilization after their technological deception. Dr. Lysandra Vasilyev moved carefully among the delegates, keenly aware that she was navigating treacherous waters. Her earpiece connected her to Earth's Strategic Command, where Admiral Voss and the Joint Chiefs monitored the proceedings. "The Meridian delegation appears receptive," she subvocalized, her implanted communicator picking up the vibrations in her jaw. "The Tholarians are still on our side, but the Praetorate allies are pushing for complete technological surrender." "Understood," Voss replied in her ear. "Keep them talking. We need another 12 hours. What the Admiral didn't share, what only the highest levels of Earth Command knew, was that Director Akagi had gone dark after sending a single encrypted message. "Precursor contact confirmed. Implementing Omega contingency." Vasilyev approached High Arbitrator Zelfaran, who was engaged in intense discussion with the Hegemony ambassador. "Arbitrator," she greeted him with practiced diplomatic poise. "I understand your concerns about trust, but Earth is prepared to demonstrate our commitment to transparency moving forward." Zelfaran's compound eyes studied her. "Doctor, your species concealed world-altering technologies while signing treaties explicitly banning their development. You built shadow fleets and hidden installations throughout your sector. What possible assurance could you offer now?" "Supervised disarmament of our dimensional weapons platforms," she replied smoothly. "Joint research initiatives on non-military applications of our chronometric technology. And most significantly," she paused for effect, "humanity will accept Concord oversight committees on all colonial worlds." The offer sparked immediate interest among the gathered representatives. It was generous, far more conciliatory than expected from a species that had just demonstrated military superiority. What none of them knew was that it was all theater. Those colonial worlds were already being quietly evacuated through dimensional gateways, their populations transferred to the Haven Network, alternate dimension colonies that existed beyond Concord detection. The negotiations continued for hours, with proposals and counterproposals flowing. Vasilyev played her role perfectly, appearing to gradually concede points while securing small victories that would give Earth the appearance of diplomatic success. As the session neared conclusion, her communication implant suddenly activated with an override frequency, not from Admiral Voss, but from an unknown source. "Dr. Vasilyev, A voice she didn't recognize spoke directly into her mind. "This is Commander Kalen Rhodes of the Precursor Contact Team. Your negotiations are irrelevant. Evacuation protocols have been accelerated. Return to Earth immediately. Authentication code, Omega-7 Sundown." She maintained her composure despite the shocking message, excusing herself momentarily from the discussions. In a private alcove, she activated her secure channel to Admiral Voss. "What's happening?" she demanded in a whisper. "I just received an Omega-7 override." Voss's voice was grim. "It's confirmed, Doctor. The precursors have returned. Not as benevolent teachers, but as judges. They've been watching, waiting to see which species would reach dimensional awareness first. It seems humanity's demonstration against the Praetorate triggered some kind of predetermined response protocol. What do they want? We don't know exactly, but they've made it clear that the galaxy's current power structure is temporary. Director Akagi is in direct communication with their representatives aboard something they call an arbiter vessel. The preliminary assessment isn't good. Vasilyev processed this rapidly. "The negotiations here continue as planned," Voss instructed. "The Conquered doesn't know about the precursors yet. We need this diplomatic channel open while we determine our options." She returned to the negotiations with renewed purpose, now understanding that she wasn't just buying time for evacuation, she was potentially securing humanity's position in whatever new galactic order might emerge from the precursor's return. Meanwhile, in orbit around an uncharted brown dwarf star, Director Akagi faced humanity's greatest challenge. The precursor arbiter vessel dwarfed his shuttle, a massive structure of impossible geometries that seemed to exist partially in other dimensions. Inside, he stood before three entities of pure energy, their forms constantly shifting between states of matter. Their communication bypassed language, implanting concepts directly into his consciousness. "Your species has achieved dimensional awareness ahead of projected timelines," they conveyed. "The deception you practiced against your galactic neighbors indicates instability in the current civilization matrix." Akagi struggled to form responses that these beings could comprehend. "We concealed our capabilities out of caution, not malice. Our history taught us that revealing technological advantages often invites aggression." "A valid survival adaptation," the precursors acknowledged. "However, the test was not whether you would develop these technologies, but how you would use them once revealed." Images flooded Akagi's mind, thousands of possible futures branching from this moment. In some, humanity dominated the galaxy through force. In others, they retreated to their dimensional havens, abandoning conventional space. In a precious few, a new balance was achieved. "We stand at a crossroads," Akagi realized aloud. "You're not here to judge us, you're here to guide the transition." The precursor entities pulsed with what might have been approval. The cycle repeats. A species achieves dimensional awareness. The existing order destabilizes. A new equilibrium must be established. And if we refuse your guidance, then the pattern of destruction repeats, as it has 17 times before. The sky above Earth rippled like water as dimensional barriers thinned. Massive precursor vessels, 7 in total, positioned themselves in perfect geometric alignment around the planet, visible to every human eye despite attempts to shield them from public view. In the White House Situation Room, President Ilara Kamathi faced the assembled Joint Chiefs, intelligence directors, and scientific advisors. The room was uncharacteristically quiet, the usual strategic debate silenced by the magnitude of what they faced. "Let me understand this correctly," the president said, her voice steady despite the circumstances. "The precursors have given us 3 options: surrender our dimensional technology and accept Concord oversight, retreat entirely to our haven dimensions and abandon conventional space, or become their agents in restructuring the galactic order." Director Akagi, who looked decades older than he had a week ago, nodded gravely. Those are the options they've presented. They've given us 24 hours to decide. Admiral Voss leaned forward. Madam President, the evacuation to Haven is 70% complete. We could conceivably relocate our entire civilization within the time frame. And abandon Earth? President Kamathi shook her head. This is our homeworld. Humanity has faced extinction-level threats before and survived. We don't run. Dr. Mohinder Rao, Earth's leading xenoanthropologist, cleared his throat. With respect, Madam President, we may be misinterpreting the precursor's intentions. Their communication methods are imprecise. The concepts they're conveying might not translate cleanly to our understanding of choice and consequence. Explain, the President prompted. I believe they're not offering us 3 separate paths, but rather describing an integrated approach. The precursors appear to operate on dimensional principles we barely comprehend. To them, possibilities exist simultaneously. They may be expecting us to embrace aspects of all 3 options. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. It was Commander Kearney who finally spoke, her tactical mind quickly adapting to this perspective. A strategic partition, she suggested. We maintain Earth and key system colonies in conventional space, complete with transparent Concord relations. Simultaneously, we continue development of the Haven network as a sanctuary and backup for our civilization. And we selectively share dimensional technology with species deemed ready by precursor standards. Director Akagi's eyes widened slightly. Not surrender, not retreat, not dominance. Balance. Across the galaxy, the sudden appearance of precursor vessels near every major Concord world had thrown the interstellar community into chaos. On Harmony Station, Dr. Vasilia found herself unexpectedly elevated from negotiator to central figure, as panicked representatives demanded explanations. Did humanity summon these beings? The Praetorate ambassador accused, mandibles clicking furiously. Is this your final deception? Before she could respond, the station's communication systems activated independently, projecting a single unified message in all languages simultaneously. The cycle of awareness has begun anew. The children of Earth have reached the threshold. The balance must be restored. Representatives of all spacefaring species will converge on Sol in 7 planetary rotations for the Conclave of Transcendence. When the message ended, Dr. Vasilia found every eye in the chamber fixed on her. With a diplomatic poise that belied her inner turmoil, she addressed the assembly. It appears we all have questions that only the precursors can answer. Humanity extends an invitation to all conquered representatives to join us on Earth for this conclave. Whatever future awaits us, it seems we will face it together. 7 days later, as representatives from 57 civilizations gathered in a hastily constructed dimensional amphitheater outside Geneva, humanity made its choice. President Kimathi stood before the assembled delegates, precursor observers hovering silently above the proceedings. For nearly 2 centuries, humanity concealed its true capabilities from the galactic community, she began. We did so out of fear born from our own violent history. We projected our worst instincts onto you and prepared accordingly. Murmurs rippled through the crowd as translation systems conveyed her words. Today, we acknowledge that deception was wrong. Not because we didn't have cause for caution, but because fear-based decisions inevitably lead to fear-based outcomes. We created the very crisis we sought to avoid. She gestured to the precursor entities. These beings have shown us possible futures, paths where humanity dominates through technological superiority, paths where we retreat into dimensional isolation, paths where existing power structures collapse into chaos. None of these serve life's greater purpose. High Arbitrator Zelforan rose from his seat. What do you propose, President Kimathi? A new Concord, she replied simply. One built on genuine transparency and graduated technological sharing. Humanity will neither hoard our dimensional knowledge nor force it upon civilizations unprepared for its implications. Instead, we offer a partnership, a carefully managed transition as each species demonstrates readiness. From the Tholarian section, Ambassador Renek's Vow's crystalline form glittered as he spoke. And who determines this readiness? Humans? Precursors? Some new authority? All of us, Ambassador. Together. President Kimathi activated a holographic display showing a new organizational structure, one where oversight was mutual, where technological advancement was guided but not restricted, where dimensional capabilities were treated as a shared heritage rather than a weapon or advantage. Humanity told the galaxy we were restraining ourselves. That restraint is over, not because we choose dominance, but because we choose trust. Real trust, not the facade we maintained before. The precursor observers pulsed with energy that somehow conveyed approval. One descended to hover beside President Kimathi, its voice resonating directly in the minds of all present. The cycle advances. The test continues. The children of Earth have chosen integration over isolation, cooperation over dominance. The path is set. In the years that followed, humanity neither conquered nor retreated. Earth became the nexus of a transformed galactic community, one where dimensional technologies gradually reshaped civilization itself. The Haven colonies served as research centers and backup sanctuaries, but humanity remained firmly connected to conventional space and their galactic neighbors. Admiral Voss, now serving as Earth's representative to the new Dimensional Oversight Council, stood with Dr. Vasiliev on the observation deck of Harmony Station, watching ships from a dozen worlds coming and going through newly established dimensional gateways. "Dao, you think we made the right choice?" Vasiliev asked quietly. Voss considered the question carefully. "We spent 2 centuries preparing for the worst in others, and in doing so nearly brought about that very outcome. There's a certain poetry in that lesson. And the precursors? Do you trust their guidance?" The Admiral smiled wryly. "Trust is earned, not given, a lesson we taught the galaxy the hard way. I trust that they want balance, and for now, our interests align with that goal." Below them, a preterite diplomatic vessel docked alongside a human research ship. Former enemies, now cautious collaborators in the new order. "We told the galaxy we were restraining ourselves," Voss mused. "What we never admitted was that we were also restraining ourselves from trusting, from connecting, from believing in something better than our fears." Vasiliev nodded, understanding the deeper truth. The real revelation wasn't our technology. It was discovering that sometimes the greatest strength isn't in what you hide, but in what you're brave enough to share.